Picture this.
Yeah.
You're standing at the highest point in Minnesota's biggest state park, your eyes sweeping across just a daggering 33,000 acres of diverse wilderness.
Wow.
Today, that's exactly where we're headed, a deep dive into St. Croix State Park. It's not just about the stunning views, though. We're going to unpack its rich story and explore some, well, truly unique features, not least its fascinating historic fire tower.
Yeah, St. Croix State Park isn't just big. It's like a tapestry of different landscapes. You've got dense woodlands giving way to winding streams, and then the meeting of the St. Croix and Kettle rivers, even pockets of swamp, adding to the ecological richness.
Right.
It's a genuine hotspot for a huge variety of plant and animal life.
And kind of dominating a part of that landscape is the fire tower. It's more than just a tall structure. It offers these incredible panoramic vistas and a real window into the park's vital role in fire detection history. We're going to really dig into what makes this park and its fire tower so significant. Our goal today is to give you, the listener, a compelling and informative journey through St. Croix State Park, highlighting its history, key features, and those surprising facts that make a place truly memorable.
Okay, let's maybe start by getting a sense of the scale. Over 33,000 acres. I mean, that's a lot of ground to cover.
It really is.
And its character is really shaped by the two major waterways that border it, the Kettle and the St. Croix rivers. Interestingly, the St. Croix holds a very special place in conservation history.
Absolutely. It's a key part of the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. And here's a bit of trivia for you.
Yeah.
It was actually the very first river in the entire country to receive the Wild and Scenic designation back in, 1968?
That's right, 1968,
Right.
which really underscores just how special its natural beauty is and, how relatively untouched this region of the upper Midwest has remained.
Yeah.
That designation sort of reflects the ecological integrity of the area, which is evident in the park's diverse ecosystems. You've got that blend of woodlands, the flowing river systems, and those wetland areas like you mentioned.
Mm.
This variety of habitats is precisely what allows such a wide range of plant and animal life to thrive there.
And if you're even remotely interested in birds, St. Croix State Park is, well, it's a must visit. We're talking fantastic opportunities to see migrating and breeding warblers, vireos, flycatchers, thrushes, sparrows.
A whole list.
A whole list. And here's a cool fact. The rare Louisiana water thrush actually reaches the northernmost point of its breeding range right here along the St. Croix River in the park. What makes this area so attractive to such a variety of bird life?
Well, what's fascinating is the convergence of different habitat types. The mix of mature forests, the riparian areas along the rivers, and open spaces creates niches for a wide array of species. The park also lies along important migratory routes, making it a crucial stopover point. You'll find prime habitat for nocturnal birds like whippoorwills and American woodcock, as well as various owl species.
Okay.
And in winter, it can be a haven for finches like pine and evening grosbeaks.
It's almost overwhelming in a good way. We even have a bird checklist that lists everything from geese and ducks to warblers and buntings, noting how common or, rare each sighting might be. It really highlights the sheer avian biodiversity.
It really does. And for those who enjoy casting a line, the St. Croix and Kettle rivers offer some excellent fishing. Whether you prefer fishing from the bank or maybe taking a canoe out, you have a good chance of hooking smallmouth bass, walleye, pike,
Nice.
and even the older, more elusive species like lake sturgeon and channel catfish.
I read about a spot called the Big Eddy on the Kettle River being a potentially productive fishing area.
Could be, yeah.
It's worth keeping in mind, though, that water levels can fluctuate and affect fishing, so it's always wise to check conditions beforehand.
Definitely.
Apparently, popular lures include things like rapalas, spinnerbaits, and even poppers, which are supposedly particularly effective if you give them like a longer pause on the water.
Oh, interesting technique.
Yeah. The trick seems to be focusing on areas with shade and slightly deeper water, even if deeper is only, say, 4 feet or less sometimes. Does the presence of these game fish tell us anything about the health of these river ecosystems?
Oh, absolutely. The presence of a diverse and even sensitive fish population, including that recovering lake sturgeon we mentioned, indicates a relatively healthy aquatic environment. Despite the challenges these river systems inevitably face,
Right.
it suggests the underlying ecological processes are still functioning pretty well.
Now, for the more adventurous among us, hunting is permitted in specific sections of the park, and there's a hunting map available that details those areas. Naturally, any private land within the park boundaries is off limits, unless you get the owner's permission, of course.
Standard practice. And for a truly immersive experience, you can hike into the backpacking campsites at Bear Creek and Crooked Creek. These are a few miles in, so you need to be prepared to carry your own water.
Okay.
But what's really unique is the presence of these old bunkhouse-style shelters. They've got sleeping platforms, screened openings.
Oh, cool.
Plus, they even provide firewood for you.
That's a nice perk. The information I saw noted Bear Creek as being particularly isolated, which I can see being a big draw for people looking for real solitude.
Yeah, it offers that.
However, it also mentioned being prepared for potentially significant mosquito and tick populations, especially during the warmer months. So bring the bug spray.
Always a good idea in Minnesota woods. And the trails leading to these campsites can be prone to flooding in the spring, so some forethought is definitely needed depending on the season.
Right. These remote campsites and just the vastness of the park must have presented some interesting challenges in the past, which kind of leads us to the story of the historic fire tower.
Exactly. Minnesota has such a rich history when it comes to forest fire detection. It started with very basic tree lookouts, just someone climbing a tall tree.
Wow.
But then in the 1930s, there was this major push to build steel towers. This was largely driven by the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, a key initiative of Roosevelt's National Recovery Act during the Great Depression.
It's incredible to think about the scale of that undertaking. I read that at one point, northern Minnesota had a fire tower roughly every 8 square miles.
Now imagine that density.
That really emphasizes how critical these structures were for spotting and responding to fires in those early days of forest management. What was the thinking behind establishing such a dense network like that?
Well, you have these vast stretches of forest, and timber was economically vital. So early fire detection was absolutely crucial to prevent devastating losses. A dense network of towers allowed for overlapping visual coverage,
Okay.
increasing the chances of spotting a fire quickly and then triangulating its exact location using maps and compass bearings.
Makes sense. And many of these steel fire towers were specifically built by the CCC to protect the newly established state and national parks. Initially, they were staffed by CCC members themselves, right?
That's right. And later the responsibility shifted to the Department of Natural Resources, the DNR.
Thinking about the broader historical context, during World War II, these fire towers took on an unexpected additional role. They were actually used as aircraft spotting posts.
Yeah, it really highlights how these seemingly singular purpose structures were integrated into broader national needs during that time, a sort of early warning system.
While modern technology like, aerial surveillance and satellite imaging have reduced the reliance on these towers for fire spotting,
Sure.
they remain a really important part of Minnesota's heritage. And it's wonderful to see that some are being preserved and even restored by local groups for the public to appreciate.
Absolutely. And the St. Croix Fire Tower is still an active part of the park experience in some ways. The Fire Tower trail races, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
They actually involve a climb to the top of the historic tower for participants in the longer 50K and 100K races.
Whoa.
And for the ultra-endurance folks doing the 100K, they climb it not once, but twice.
Twice. Wow. And for anyone who might be a little wary of heights, I noticed they even offer a vertigo option, which I think is a thoughtful touch.
Yeah, that's considerate.
It really emphasizes the tower as both a historical landmark and, a physical landmark within the park's landscape.
Yeah.
A real challenge.
And from an engineering perspective, it's interesting to note that many of Minnesota's steel fire towers were manufactured by the Air Motor Corporation.
Air motor.
Yeah, they started out as makers of windmills, which is quite a fascinating evolution, isn't it?
It really is.
Their early fire tower designs were even conical, kind of resembling their windmills, before they developed more standardized designs specifically for conservation departments.
It's amazing to think that these complete air motor fire towers initially cost somewhere between like $400 and $800.
Yeah, different times.
Gives you a real sense of the economic realities back then. What were some of the typical features of these early towers?
Well, many of the older towers, likely including the one at St. Croix, were an 8-sided cupola style. Some reached impressive heights, up to 130 feet,
On 30 feet.
often with just vertical rung ladders initially, though later designs incorporated safety cages, thankfully. The observation cabs at the top were typically quite small, Just enough room for the observer and their equipment like the map and alidade.
That tapered cupola design must have made them incredibly strong and resistant to wind and weather.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very stable design, a real testament to the engineering principles of that era.
Mhm.
And from the vantage point of the St. Croix Fire Tower, operators would have had crucial direct observation of the surrounding terrain. Those would be marked in, say, red on old fire plan maps,
Yeah.
as well as indirect observation of areas further out, often marked in blue. They meticulously maintained fire plan scene area maps to document their visual coverage, which was absolutely vital for early fire detection and coordinating a response with ground crews.
So when you piece it all together, St. Croix State Park offers this incredible combination of a rich natural environment and a compelling human history deeply intertwined with conservation efforts.
Totally.
And the fire tower really stands as a powerful symbol of that past.
Absolutely. And as we've been surveying the park, it's crucial not to overlook the health of the St. Croix River itself, which is such a defining feature of the whole area.
That's such an important point. The St. Croix River, along with the Nemekaghan, holds this really significant triple designation. It's a national wild and scenic river,
Right.
and also recognized as outstanding resource waters in both Wisconsin and Minnesota. That outstanding resource water status is actually quite rare, isn't it?
It really is. It's a designation reserved for waters that possess exceptional ecological or recreational value. It basically signifies the highest level of water quality protection and a commitment to protect its unique characteristics.
And that high water quality supports an impressive level of biodiversity, including, remarkably, 110 fish species and 41 different kinds of freshwater mussels, some of which are sadly threatened or endangered.
It's incredible.
It's amazing to think that the river is believed to still host all the mussel species that were present before European settlement.
It truly is a remarkable ecosystem, a real gem. Then you have the inspiring story of the lake sturgeon comeback. This ancient fish was really on the brink due to overfishing, habitat degradation, pollution.
Yeah.
But it's slowly recovering in the clean gravel shallows and rapids of the St. Croix. That story you mentioned about the 78-inch, 120-pound sturgeon caught and released in 2019 and
Crap.
estimated to be 60 to 70 years old really underscores the potential for recovery in a healthy system.
It's a powerful reminder of nature's resilience, but also, I guess, the ongoing need for vigilance. Because despite its relatively healthy state, the river does face some significant challenges, right?
Yes, unfortunately, it's not immune. Invasive species like yellow iris, purple loosestrife, zebra mussels, and the ever-present threat of Asian carp downstream pose a risk. We also see water quality concerns related to things like phosphorus, chlorides from road salt, and emerging contaminants like microplastics and nitrates.
I know there are efforts underway to combat some of these invasives, like physically removing the yellow iris and using those Gallericella beetles, which, if I understand correctly, are a natural predator to control the purple loosestrife.
That's right, biocontrol.
And the inspect, clean, drain, dry message is so vital in preventing the spread of zebra mussels by boaters. You see those signs everywhere.
Crucial boater education, yeah.
Yeah.
And the water quality issues are complex. Excess phosphorus, often from agricultural and urban runoff, wastewater. It can lead to those nuisance algae blooms downstream in Lake St. Croix.
Right, which impacts recreation.
Exactly. And chloride, mainly from road salt and water softeners, can actually be toxic to aquatic life at certain concentrations. And the long-term effects of microplastics and nitrates are still being actively studied.
It's also sobering to learn about the fish consumption advisories that are in place due to PCBs and mercury contamination. Both Minnesota and Wisconsin issue guidelines recommending limits on how much fish people should eat from the St. Croix, particularly for more vulnerable populations like children and pregnant women.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate reality for many waterways due to past pollution. And looking ahead, climate change is projected to bring increased temperatures, more intense rainfall, and more frequent extreme weather events to the region, which could further stress the aquatic ecosystem and potentially exacerbate issues like invasive species and runoff pollution. It adds another layer of complexity.
It's clear that the ongoing work of organizations like the St. Croix River Association and their various partners is absolutely essential to research these threats and safeguard the health of this vital waterway for the future.
Definitely. So for you, the listener, St. Croix State Park offers this incredible opportunity to connect with both a rich natural environment and a fascinating slice of Minnesota history.
Yeah.
From its diverse habitats teeming with life to that iconic fire tower standing sentinel over the landscape, there are just layers of stories waiting to be discovered. And the health of the St. Croix River serves as a constant reminder of the importance of responsible stewardship.
Whether you're drawn to hiking through its vast woodlands, paddling its scenic rivers, or maybe just learning about the history held within its boundaries, St. Croix State Park offers a wealth of experiences for curious explorers and lifelong learners.
Hmm.
And that fire tower, a relic of a bygone era, still offers a powerful perspective on our relationship with the land and how we've tried to manage it.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought. As we've explored the vastness of St. Croix State Park and the enduring presence of its fire tower, maybe consider the ongoing interplay between our enjoyment of these wild spaces and our responsibility to protect them for generations to come. What's one small step you might take, perhaps, to be a better steward of the natural world around you, whether it's in a place like St. Croix or even closer to home?